All right, so welcome back to the Happy Truckers channel. My name is Mike, and today we are talking to Casey Leonard. She is the owner of the Yucatan Transitional Services. We want to find out from an expert what it takes to move to the Yucatan, what you can expect, and all the various information that you're probably wondering. So with that, welcome, Casey. Welcome to the group.
Hello, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. So first, let me just establish, yours says Yucatan. So specifically, two questions, actually. Where are you actually located? What city are you in?
Our main office is in Merida, and we also have one of my assistants works out for the Progreso. He works the Progreso offices, so he handles the clients for like Progreso, Chelem, Chuburná. And then I have a girl in Playa del Carmen who handles our clients for the Quintana Roo area.
Okay.
But I'm specifically, our main office is here in Merida.
In Merida. Okay. And this is something I don't actually know. Is Yucatan a state or just an area like we would say New England is,
Yucatan is the state. So there's the state of the Yucatan, Yucatan state, but it's also the whole peninsula. So Campeche, Quintana Roo, and Yucatan make up the Yucatan Peninsula. And depending on whose definition you use, some people also put like Chiapas, Belize, they'll try to add the whole thing to it. But personally, as far as I'm concerned, it's the three states.
Okay. Okay. So it's kind of what I had heard different ways. And I don't think I was 100% sure if they were one or these two different things. So I've been to Merida, and that's clearly Yucatan. Yucatan's kind of unique. It's very Mayan in the sense that it's Mayan culture is from there, but it's still very strongly Mayan. It's still, you feel that when you talk to the people and the architecture and that sort of thing, correct?
Yeah, we have a guy that works for us that does construction projects for us. And his original, he's young, he's maybe 30 years old, but his first language is Mayan. So he's bilingual. He speaks Mayan and Spanish, and he's actually teaching my eldest daughter how to speak Mayan.
Really?
Yeah,
that is
it's
very
a
cool.
really hard language.
Is it? I when I was there, I would hear some people speaking. I think it was when we went to Uxmal, and they had some of the different guys, like tour guides and stuff like that. And the guy we were traveling, which I think works for you guys now, Lewis. Yeah. He was our tour guide at the time. He was our driver and acted like a tour guide. And he was telling us Mayan right now, not Spanish. Very interesting. That's unique to, we don't obviously get that in the United States very often. You might get it on some of the Native American reservations, but that's about it. I thought it was really interesting how strong that culture is still there.
Yeah, it's really cool that the culture, the Maya culture still permeates, the city. And even, last names. There's so many last names that are Mayan, but then sometimes you'll see, like if you ever see someone whose last name is Estrella, that was originally a Mayan last name. It was Ek. Ek means star, right? So when the conquistadores came, a lot of people tried they tried to assimilate them, right? So they changed their last name from like Ek, which is Maya for star, to Estrella.
Really?
So we still have, there's a lot of Mayan last names around. Ek, Pek, Kutz, Chan, but which is huge amount of the populace have these Mayan last names. But some of them you will see they've been translated into Spanish, centuries ago.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, it's really fascinating. There's a lot of interesting culture there. One of the more unique places in North America that has such an obvious and honored and well-represented culture.
The city has been continuously inhabited for more than 2,000 years.
Wow. That is a lot. I don't know if that's the record, but that is.
I have heard
it.
I heard, I can't verify this, I didn't look it up, but I did hear someone say recently that it's the oldest continually inhabited city in North America.
Wow.
Because the city of Merida was built on an old Mayan city called Tho.
Okay.
Tho. And then when the Spaniards came, they said, okay, this is ours now, and
right.
and built over it.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow, that's amazing. 2,000 years. That's really pretty neat.
Yeah, that's a long time.
It's a really interesting area, and for people that have not gotten there yet, it's something you definitely want to visit, if not considering to move there. Which kind of brings us into you. So let's talk about me, for example. I'm a 51-year-old man. I'm married. My kids are grown. So if I wanted to move there it's into Yucatan specifically, but maybe even Merida, and I came to you, what's the first question you're going to ask me?
But basically, first thing was we asked about your time frame. You know, we asked when exactly are you thinking of moving, and that'll help me determine what my playbook needs to look like. You know, for you. You know, what your checklist needs to be. And then when someone tells me when they're coming, then my next question is, okay, have you made your, if they're moving here, have you made your appointment yet at the consulate? Because to get residency in Mexico, you've got to start at a Mexican consulate outside of Mexico. And with this whole pandemic, a lot of them were shut down. So that's kind of been, I mean, now they're open again, but they're kind of backlogged. So that's the challenge these days is people getting people getting their initial appointment. But yeah, basically the first question is, what's your timeline looking at, and have you talked to the consulate yet?
And there's Mexican consulates kind of scattered throughout the United States, right?
Oh yeah, there's everywhere. There's 2 in Florida. There's like 5 in Texas. There's several in California. Pretty much every state except for maybe like Iowa. The Dakotas has one, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a matter of making an appointment there, going to talk to them. Now, if this gets too deep into the weeds, we can always defer to other things. But if I'm going to go down there, I think I'm going to move as a not retired person, but I still have a job and I can do it online. Yeah. What kind of visa am I looking at?
You'd be looking at a temporary residency visa. Basically, there's 2 kinds. There's temporary residency visa and there's a permanent residency visa. Now, it's not actually in their bylines or the regulations or anything, but it's something that the consulates have started applying, is that they don't like to give permanent visas to people that are under 65 or don't have pensions. It's because of the way that what it actually says, it says pensionados, which means that you've got like a monthly income, but they have taken that to mean, you know, pension, like you've got a pension when you're retired. So it's kind of an unfortunate thing that's happened. Like I had a lady came down a couple of years ago, like she's a rock star. She's got an album on Broadway, you know, she had a show on Broadway at the time. She's got a record out right now that's like on the top 10. I mean, she's a damn rock star. And she went to California to get her approved. She's 65, you know, so she was real big in the 80s, but she's still around and relevant. Not saying her name, but she lives just a couple blocks from here. And she tried to apply for permanent residency and they told her no because she doesn't have a pension. She's like, you know, you can Google me, I've got money. They're like, no. So she had to get temporary residency and then you reapply, you know, that you extend that base, you renew it. And eventually that will turn into permanent residency after 4 years. So it's not a big deal.
How long is the initial period?
Well, the process, right? You make the appointment at the consulate in the States, okay? What they're really looking for is that you're financially solvent, right? So that you can support yourself. The exact amount varies from consulate to consulate, even though it's not supposed to. Welcome to Mexico, land of the arbitrary. But it's about $1,900 a month, right?
Okay.
And they want to see bank statements for 12 months showing that you're making $1,900 US a month. And they will give you basically a pre-approval. It's a sticker that goes in your passport. And after that, you have 180 days to get to Mexico. So you have 180 days to get all your affairs in order and come to Mexico. And then when you get to Mexico, you have 30 days to get in touch, well, with me or immigration, because you got 30 days to submit the second portion of your paperwork, which is a bunch of forms, a payment of like $220 to actually get your residency card, your little green card. And the temporary residency, the card is good for 1 year, after which you can renew it for 3 more years. Like you can renew year by year, but pretty much everybody renews it for 3 years. And then when those 3 years are up, you do a change of condition for time served, and you get permanent. And then
Okay.
that one never expires.
And that $1,900, is that a family amount of like say 2 social securities, or is it per person?
No, that's per person. When it's a family, we have yet to ever see a hard, fast number for a couple or family. But we've
Okay.
noticed that if I've got 2 people applying, they're looking for like 1,900, like 80% of 2 times 1,900, right? So 19 times 2 is what? 3,800.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for like 80% of 3,800. So they'll
Okay.
take what, like 3,200 or so. But we've never been able to get a straight answer as to what it needs to be for a family, you know. And the other thing is, there's a really nice workaround. If, say, one person qualifies for residency financially, but the other person doesn't,
Okay.
you guys can both come. You know, one spouse can come on their visa, their temporary visa. And then we do what's called a family unity visa,
Right.
which is where we submit that you have a relation. We submit paperwork showing that you have a relationship with a person who has residency here, and you get your residency added to theirs, right? And so then you don't have to show financials, and that can be done within Mexico.
Okay. Wow. I mean, it sounds
Yeah,
complicated, but not really.
what?
It's like I said, it sounds sort of complicated when you first hear it, but when I start to think about it, it's not overly complicated. You just have to follow the steps.
Yeah, it's really not complicated. I mean, you've got to follow. I mean, your paperwork has to be perfect. You've got to have all those, right documents. You have to have an apostille marriage certificate or birth certificate. Something showing that relationship. It's got to be translated into Spanish. I mean, there are steps that have to be taken, but once you know what you're doing, it's pretty straightforward.
And that's something that you help people with, all the
Yep.
steps the whole way across the board.
Yeah, this week I've done 4 canjes, which
Wow.
is, people moving down,
Yeah.
doing the financial solvency thing. And then I've done 2 of those family unity visas this week.
Okay. So let's say then I'm not retired. I make, my wife and I both actually make good income. So clearly $1,900 wouldn't be a problem for us, but it's still a paycheck. It's not a guaranteed money. And I have money in investments. Can I use that in some way?
You can use the investments. They will take bank accounts. They will take savings account, investment accounts. As long as you can show them, you can prove that the money can be easily accessed. They can be liquidated easily and accessed. They will
Okay.
take it. Like if it's something that's stuck in an account that you can't touch for 20 years, they won't take it. The
Okay.
one thing they hate, never tell them if you're a landlord and you've got rental income, they don't like rental income. Never tell them rental income.
Which I do. So don't even bring it up.
No.
Okay.
No.
You didn't hear it here at all. Okay.
Yeah, they don't like
It's
rental
not my
income.
only income, but it is something we do. We have a couple rental homes and
Yeah. No, they don't
overall us, we count it, but we do have jobs, regular
Yeah.
W-2 employees from the bank.
What's interesting, going back to consulates making up their own rules as they go, California recently turned down one of my clients. He was in his early 30s. He's a private pilot.
Mhm.
I mean, the guy makes really good money, but they wouldn't take his bank account, his income, because they're like, well, you're a pilot. What's going to stop you from working in Mexico? We want to see pay stubs.
Is that
So he had to
is that at the heart of this issue? They want to make sure you're getting your income from the States and not taking a job away
Yeah.
from someone locally.
Exactly.
And the
Like,
pilot, I guess it's very transferable. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they want to make sure that the income is coming from outside the country. A lot of my clients work online for American companies,
Hmm.
and that's fine. That's perfectly fine with them. California consulates are kind of tricky. That's where they turned down my rock star as well.
Yeah.
I think the California consulates can be very picky.
That's
Very hard.
interesting. I wouldn't have thought that, but okay. So,
Yeah.
okay. So don't tell him I'm a pilot. Don't tell him I own any rental properties. Just show him
Yeah.
my pay stubs for the last couple of years and say, okay, this is what I make. Now
Yeah.
you had mentioned $1,900. That's actually way more than the average Mexican monthly income, right?
Yeah, and the number got raised quite a bit this year, and they're actually like, okay, so it had been $1,400 to $1,600 for years, but this past year when the president, AMLO, raised the Mexican minimum wage, the money, the income requirements are tied to the Mexican minimum wage. So when the minimum wage went up significantly, like 30%, all of a sudden that number, the finances that the Americans or foreigners had to show went up significantly. And to combat that, a lot of the consulates, supposedly they've all done it, but they really haven't, because they do whatever the heck they want and make it up as they go. And um, they're supposed to be switching over to a universal basic, it's a universal basic unit of measurement, UBA, I think it's called. And under that, the number should be back at like 1,600.
Oh, okay.
But they haven't. Not all of the consulates, very few of them have switched over to that. And the other thing, when we're talking about solvency, it can be 1,900 in monthly income or $31,000 in the bank.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you got savings, if you got savings that have been there for at least 12 months of $31,000 or more, they will take that in lieu of income, and that's for temporary. If you're going for permanent, they want pension, and they want you to be able to show about $2,600 a month in pension, or $108,000 in savings.
Okay. Okay. So that actually really brings up a kind of interesting question. So if maybe I visited, or I've just been watching a bunch of YouTube videos, I really need to talk to you maybe even first, because before I decide I'm moving, I should probably run it by you first to say, am I able to move, first of all? And if not, then what do I need to do ahead of time in terms of just financially? So I'm at least thinking, is this even a possibility before I do any of these other physical steps, right?
Yeah. No,
Just
we
to
do a
clear
lot
that.
of consult calls to kind of talk people through, the logistics and the reality of them being able to make the move.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes absolutely so much sense. Okay. All right. So now you said you had several this week even. Give me a sense of the age range of people that are moving there.
Well, when we first opened the company, about five and a half years ago, the vast majority of my clients were, over 50 to 70, retirees, mostly folks whose pensions weren't quite enough to be comfortable in the US.
Right.
And, here they can live very well, go out to eat. I mean, I had a client a couple of years ago, sweetest old lady. She lived in Philadelphia. Sorry. And she once told me that due to the pension that she had, she could choose between paying the heat or buying food.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, heartbreaking. I found an adorable apartment right around the corner from here. She's the sweetest old lady. She's passed away now, but she enjoyed her time in Mexico very much. But yeah, I mean, and that's a reality for a lot of people, is that they work their entire lives, and just the pension system is so bad that they can't. But nowadays, the age has revised downward. So I mean, this week, one of my clients was born in '89. Another one from '87. I mean, there's kids now moving here, young families. We've also got a whole bunch of young Black professionals. They're calling it the Blacksidus, because they're just tired of the way they're treated in the States.
Right.
That's what they told me, and they're moving here with their families because I mean, it's awesome here. So in the last few months, I've probably 20, 30 young Black professional couples that have moved here and hired us. Yeah. And
I've
it's a
watched
really
actually
cool-
several YouTube videos from different people.
Mhm.
They were all African American, and that's basically that same story is said on each one of these different channels. Just let's clear up one thing. For the most part, you're probably not good idea to come down there looking for work.
No,
No.
no, don't do that. Actually, so I grew up here, right? My parents moved us here in the early 90s, and I was 8. And then I went back to the States for college, grad school. The economy tanked. It was 2010. I'm like, Mom, can I come home? I came home as a tourist, and I'm sitting there at the dining room table drinking my coffee and actually going through a newspaper. And I saw a job offer for a physical forensic anthropologist, which is what I happen to be. Um, and I drove into the school. I applied. They hired me on the spot. They did all my residency paperwork. And so I did work here, legally as a professor, college professor for many years. But $9 an hour.
Now, I mean, two parts to that. The income is lower there, so $9 is better, but it's certainly nothing here. It's not gonna pay your college loan back.
Yeah, it would have been fine if they'd given us, 30, 40 hours a week, but when you're getting like 12, 15, no.
Oh, yeah, you barely get by. What is the average income for a citizen?
There is no average income really because there's such a huge disparity between lower socioeconomic, and I mean the poorest people I've ever seen in my life are here, and the richest people I've ever seen in my life are here. I mean, my mom's neighbor owns Domino's Pizza, or at least the Domino's for the Mexico.
Right, yeah.
This man has got a Bugatti Veyron, a Rolls Royce, Tesla, and those are just his everyday cars. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane. He's got a Lamborghini. I mean, I drove by a house the other day that had 2 Lambos, 2 Porsches, a BMW, and a really big expensive Jeep parked in front. You know, I mean, like, but average income, so like your average like housekeeper person is making about 6,000 to 7,000 pesos a month,
which is in dollars,
like $300 to $350 a month.
Yeah.
Your average office worker is going to be making $800, $900 a month.
Wow. Okay, so bring your income with you.
Bring your income with you. And then the only way to really get ahead in Mexico is being a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure my guys they make $15 an hour. Company charges 20, they get 15 of it, they're happy, I'm happy. It allows to make $1,500 a month on a decent month. And
which sounds like it'd be pretty good then.
Yeah, they do okay.
So let's talk about that then. So let's say $1,000 just as a nice round number. What are we going to look at in terms of an average 2-bedroom, either house or apartment? I saw more homes than I would have apartments like you'd see in the United States.
Apartments are not a big thing here.
No.
It's hard to come at an average because the prices vary so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you can find a 2-bedroom in the heart of Centro in the really popular areas, and those can be $1,000, $1,500 a month. Personally, I live just outside of Centro in a really nice residential area. But I mean, basically, I pay $250 a month for rent.
Okay.
Right? For a big house, it's just not in the super touristy area. I mean, you can do nice house for $250 to $300.
Probably healthcare is something that'll be a concern of older people.
You really want to have healthcare situated before you turn 65, because trying to hire healthcare after 65, a private insurance after 65 is astronomically expensive in Mexico. Also, they do not cover pre-existing conditions.
Okay.
So you want to get, I always tell my clients to get, we have an insurance broker, so we can help with that. What I tell my people to do is to get major medical, with a high deductible, which makes for a lower yearly premium.
Mhm.
And then I work with a private clinic called Oncourt, which is really cool. A few years back, I wrote preventative care packages for them, which it's like $450 a year. And there's no pre-existing condition, issues. There's no age cutoff. And what that program does is it gives you free GP visits
Okay.
all year, a full physical, bunch of freebies, free ultrasound, free x-ray, all that, a bunch of stuff and they speak English. So that's where I generally send my people for day-to-day stuff, but they also have a full surgery ward. They've got 2 surgical bays in there. They can pretty much handle anything.
Okay.
There's Mexican government insurance.
Mhm.
EAMS, you hear it talked about a lot, but I don't really recommend it. The care is very, very subpar.
So get private insurance.
Get private insurance, yes, please. And the hospitals here are fabulous. The doctors are great. We have an excellent level of care here.
Well, Casey, you've given us so much good information. I really appreciate it. Just before we go, what's the best way to contact you? You have a website? Is it on Facebook? How do we reach you?
The best way to find us is on Facebook, Yucatan Transitional Services. You can also email us at yucatantransitionalservices@gmail.com.
Okay.
My phone number is on the Facebook page, so you can WhatsApp, email, or Facebook, and I'm good about responding.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Again, Casey, thanks so much. This has been so helpful. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Hey, I really hope you liked that video. Why not check out some of our other great videos? And also make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you get notified every time we post a new video. Until then, keep on trekking.